She once chuckled with her friends, saying, "I'd never introduce him to my relatives, he's too humiliating." I overheard it from the adjacent room. I didn't confront her, I just bided my time. That weekend, she discovered what true humiliation felt like. You never imagine it'll happen to you. You come across these tailies online and think, no way, people don't behave like that. You assume you'd spot the warning signs. You assume you'd know. I'm here to tell you can be right in the middle of it, living it, and still be completely clueless until the ground collapses beneath you. For me, that collapse happened on a Tuesday evening. Let me start from the start. My name is Matt and I'm 38. I run a landscaping and custom outdoor design business. I launched it with a beat-up truck and a used lawnmower at 22. Now I manage 3 teams, a fleet of vehicles, and we construct everything from upscale patios to intricate water installations. I'm not a flashy guy. My hands are rough, and there's usually some soil under my nails no matter how much I scrub. But I'm proud of what I've built. It's tangible. It's mine. For the past 4 years, my world is centered around Amelia. She's 32, stunning, intelligent, and works in public relations. We met through a shared friend, and I fell for her deeply. She was everything I thought I wasn't. Refined, elegant, always knowing the right wine to choose or the correct fork to pick up. I believed she complimented me. I thought we were a partnership. 6 months ago, we got engaged. She insisted we both wear engagement rings, citing an article about how it symbolized equality in a relationship. It felt odd to me. Men in the US don't typically do that, but it mattered to her. She said it showed the world we were equally devoted. So I wore the plain platinum band she and her friends selected, and I felt honored. The diamond I got her was a different matter, timeless, sophisticated, and pricier than my first truck. I didn't mind. I wanted her to have the finest. The difference, if you could call it that, was always our backgrounds. I grew up in an ordinary middle-class family. My dad fixed cars, my mom assisted in classrooms. We were content. Amelia's family, however, was what you'd call wealthy. Her father is a surgeon, her mother heads a nonprofit foundation. They exist in a realm of exclusive clubs, lavish parties, and vacation homes. I'd met her parents a few times. They were courteous, but there was always a sense of detachment, like they were studying a curious new specimen I'd brought into their pristine world. I was never invited to their major family events or holiday gatherings. Amelia always had an excuse. It's just a dull family affair, you'd hate it. Or, my cousin is visiting and she's a handful, I'm sparing you. I trusted her. I thought she was being thoughtful, shielding me from their scrutiny. I was naive. The moment of truth hit last Tuesday. Amelia was hosting her 2 closest friends, Chloe and Isabella, for drinks. They were her bridesmaids. I was in my home office, next to the living room, wrapping up some paperwork. The walls aren't thick. They'd opened a couple of wine bottles, and their voices grew louder, their laughter more biting. I was trying to ignore them when I caught Chloe's question. "So is your mom's 60th birthday bash this weekend still when Matt meets the whole family?" There was a pause, then Amelia's laugh. Not her usual warm one, but a sharp, scornful sound. "God, no," she said, her tone dripping with contempt. "Can you picture it? I'd never let him near my extended family. He's too mortifying." The words struck me like a fist. I stopped breathing, mortifying me. Isabella jumped in, her voice sugary and insincere. "You'll have to eventually, darling. You can't keep him stashed away forever. What would he even discuss with your Uncle Richard? Dirt." They all erupted in laughter. It felt like they were standing over me, mocking me to my face. I know, Amelia said, catching her breath. "I'm working on a strategy. The plan is to get the wedding done, secure him, and then refine him bit by bit. He's a solid earner. You just have to smooth out the rough spots." "Or trade up," Chloe added, and they laughed again. I didn't hear much after that. A deafening rush filled my ears, and the air seemed to vanish from the room. I wasn't her partner. I was a project, a fixer-upper, a secret to be managed. The man she planned to marry was too humiliating to meet her family. I didn't barge out or confront them. I just sat there in the dark, hands on my keyboard, and something inside me changed. The pain was there, a heavy, crushing force, but beneath it, something else was taking shape. Something cold, sharp, and resolute. She'd just shown me exactly how she viewed me, our relationship, and our future. She thought I was a simple man. She was about to learn how mistaken she was. I waited until her friends left. Then I shut my laptop and began crafting my own plan. She wanted to feel humiliated? Fine, I'd give her an experience she'd never forget. Update 1*, the 24 hours after overhearing that conversation were the longest I've ever endured. I went through the motions. Amelia came into the office later that night, pecked me on the forehead, and said she was heading to bed. She didn't notice the change in my eyes. She didn't realize the man she was saying goodnight to wasn't the same one from 2 hours earlier. My plan had to be exact, not driven by emotion or impulsiveness. It needed to be a sequence of deliberate, inevitable consequences. She saw me as just a landscaper, a guy who worked with his hands. She forgot that my work involves transforming raw earth, envisioning a finished masterpiece from a patch of dirt. I was about to apply that same mindset to my life. On Wednesday morning, I called my attorney and laid out what I'd heard. I wanted to understand my legal position. We lived in my house, which I owned outright before meeting her. Her name wasn't on the deed. We had a shared savings account for the wedding, but most of our finances were separate. My lawyer confirmed the house was solely mine and advised me to transfer half the wedding account funds to a new personal account immediately to protect my share. I did it through my banking app before we even ended the call. Next, I did some research. Her mother's 60th birthday celebration, which she described as a small family dinner, was actually a grand, catered affair at a renowned local art gallery. The guest list was a who's who of the local elite. This wasn't just a party, it was a spectacle, and she planned to attend it alone, leaving her humiliating fiancé at home. The anger fueled me, cold and focused. I spent the rest of the day preparing. I booked a luxury car service, the kind with sleek black sedans you see in films, for Friday afternoon. I arranged for a high-end moving and storage company to come Friday morning to pack up 2 rooms and a bathroom and store everything in a climate-controlled unit. I paid for 3 months up front. On Thursday, I set things in motion with Amelia. I came home with her favorite flowers and told her I had a surprise. "I know the wedding planning has been stressful," I said, delivering an Oscar-worthy performance. "And with your mom's party this weekend, I want to do something special for us. I've planned a romantic getaway, just the 2 of us. We'll leave Friday afternoon and return Sunday morning so you can still see your mom on her actual birthday." Her face lit up. This was her language, extravagant spontaneity, grand gestures. "Oh my gosh, Matt, where are we going?" she asked. "It's a surprise," I said with a smile. "Just pack an overnight bag with something elegant for Friday night dinner. I've got everything covered." She was ecstatic, texting her friends to boast about the surprise. I could almost hear Chloe and Isabella's excitement through the phone. The simple man was finally stepping up. On Friday morning, I took the day off. I told Amelia I had errands to run for our trip. As soon as she left for work, the moving company arrived. They were professional, swift, and discreet. In 3 hours, every trace of Amelia was gone. Her clothes, her toiletries, the artwork she'd hung, the excessive throw pillows on the sofa. They packed it all with care. When they finished, they handed me the storage unit key and an inventory list. The house was mine again, quiet and clean. Then I changed all the locks. At 4:00 p.m., the black sedan pulled into my driveway. Amelia arrived home soon after, buzzing with excitement, her overnight bag perfectly packed. Chloe and Isabella were with her, tagging along to see her off and hear all the details. They were lounging on my couch, sipping champagne they'd brought when I walked in. "The car's here," I said, smiling. Amelia leapt up and hugged me. "I'm so thrilled. Where are you taking me?" Her friends watched, their eyes sparkling. This was the kind of story they loved. I walked her to the door, carrying her bag. The driver, dressed in a sharp black suit, held the car door open. "Have an incredible time," I said, handing her the bag. She looked puzzled. "Aren't you coming?" "No," I said, my smile steady. "This is for you." I leaned in, kissed her cheek, and added, "It's time you met your family." Her confusion deepened. Chloe and Isabella, now in the doorway, looked uneasy. I handed the driver an envelope, then gave Amelia a second, heavy envelope with her name on it. "This should clarify everything," I said. "Safe travels." I turned, walked back into my house, and locked the door. Their confused voices echoed outside. I watched from the living room window as the driver, following my instructions, shut the door and drove off. Amelia stood there, staring at the envelope, then at my closed door before getting into the car. Chloe and Isabella were left in my driveway, looking utterly baffled as the sedan pulled away. The first phase of my plan was complete. Update 2, the silence in the house after the car left was deafening. Chloe and Isabella lingered in my driveway for 5 minutes, calling Amelia's phone, then mine. I didn't pick up. Eventually, they drove off, probably starting a frantic group chat titled, "What just happened?" I poured myself a whiskey and waited. I knew the real storm was at least an hour away. Here's what was in those envelopes. The one for the driver included his instructions and a hefty tip. He was to drop Amelia off at the art gallery where her mother's party was happening, hand her a small envelope from the glove compartment, and leave immediately. The envelope I gave Amelia held a multi-page letter I'd spent 2 days writing. It was calm, precise, and devastating. It opened with her own words, quoted exactly. "I'd never let him near my extended family. He's too humiliating." I explained that I'd overheard her conversation with her friends and now understood my role in her life. A provider to keep hidden, a project to mold after the wedding. I told her I was sparing her the effort of concealing me any longer. I was removing myself from her life so she could be with the people she wasn't ashamed of. I outlined the end of our engagement, informed her that her belongings were in a storage unit with the key in the small envelope the driver would provide, and noted that the locks on my house were changed. She was no longer welcome. I closed the letter by wishing her well in finding a partner she wasn't embarrassed by. The second part of the plan was already unfolding. While she was in the car reading that letter, a courier was delivering a package to her father's office. It contained both engagement rings, the one I'd bought her and the one she'd insisted I wear as a symbol of our equal commitment. It also included a brief, formal note. "Dr. Anderson, I'm returning these." It seems the commitment they represented wasn't mutual. "Amelia has made her choice and I'm honoring it. I regret any impact this may have on your family. Sincerely, Matt." Timing was critical. She'd arrive at the party, reeling from the letter, just as her father opened a package confirming its contents. She'd have no way to twist the story or dodge the truth. She'd be caught in her own web, surrounded by the people she most wanted to impress. Around 6:30 p.m., my phone lit up with notifications. Missed calls from Amelia, her mother, and unknown numbers flooded in. Texts came in a frantic stream. "How could you do this? You abandoned me here, everyone's staring, my father's livid, you've destroyed everything. Let me into the house, you maniac." "It was a joke, Matt, I swear, my life is ruined." "I hope you're satisfied." Then came messages from Chloe and Isabella, vicious and unhinged. They called me a monster, a manipulator, a coward. They accused me of orchestrating this from the start, trapping poor Amelia. In their version, I was the villain, and she was the innocent victim of a misunderstanding. I read every message but didn't respond. The real satisfaction wasn't in her panic. It was in my silence, my refusal to engage in the drama she'd created. I'd made my move. Now I just let the consequences unfold. I ordered a pizza, started a movie, and muted my phone. The next day, I heard what happened at the party through a friend whose cousin worked for the catering company. The story was already the stuff of legend. Amelia arrived in the black sedan, dressed for a romantic evening, and was dropped off alone at the curb. She stumbled into the gallery in tears, clutching the letter, just as her father opened a package with 2 engagement rings. The scene was dramatic, her mother trying to usher her into a private room, her father, usually composed, turning red with rage, and whispers spreading through the crowd. Amelia had wanted to avoid humiliation. Instead, I'd served it to her at the one place she valued most, in front of her family and their entire social circle. By Sunday, the approach shifted. The frantic messages stopped, replaced by a sneakier tactic. A social media campaign began. Chloe and Isabella posted vague updates about toxic men and hidden abuse in seemingly perfect relationships. Amelia shared a photo of a single tear on her cheek with the caption, "Sometimes you don't realize what you've escaped until you're free." Survivor. They were trying to rewrite the narrative, painting me as an abuser. It was a vile, calculated move, and I knew I had to stop it, not with public drama, but with precision. I recalled something. A month earlier, Amelia had complained about her phone storage. I'd helped her back up her photos and videos to her laptop, which she'd left behind. I had a hunch. I accessed the laptop, guessing her password, the name of her childhood pet. It worked. In her voice memos, I found a file labeled Girls' Night Wine. It was the entire Tuesday conversation. Her laughter calling me humiliating, talking about refining me, Isabella's dirt comment, Chloe's trade-up suggestion. All of it crystal clear. I trimmed it to a 60-second clip of the most incriminating parts. I didn't post it online. Instead, I sent it to 2 people. First, to Isabella's fiancé, Tom, with a note. "Hey, Tom, thought you'd want to hear what your future wife and her friends say when they think no one's listening." Second, to Amelia's father. "Dr. Anderson, I have no interest in making this public. However, Amelia and her friends are spreading lies about me being abusive. This recording is the truth in her own words. I won't share it publicly, but I will protect my reputation if necessary. I suggest you advise your daughter to stop." The social media posts vanished within 3 hours. The smear campaign ended before it could gain traction. Checkmate. Final update: it's been 4 months since that night at the party. My life has settled into a calm, steady rhythm I didn't realize I'd missed. The anger has mostly faded, leaving behind a quiet determination. I'm writing this final update to close this chapter for myself and anyone who's followed this story. The weeks after the fallout were a mix of chaos and calm. After sending the audio clip, all communication from Amelia and her friends stopped. The power had shifted. I had the truth in her own voice, and they knew it. The threat of it going public enforced a truce. I heard through mutual contacts what happened next. Isabella's engagement to Tom is over. Hearing his fiancée laugh about treating another man as a project was a deal-breaker. He saw it as a warning sign about her and her friends and ended things. Chloe's marriage hit rough waters after her husband learned of her role in the smear campaign and the toxicity of her friend group. Amelia's life has unraveled. She's living with her parents, and her father, obsessed with reputation, was mortified by the public fallout. The story of her party arrival became local gossip they couldn't escape. He reportedly put her on a tight budget, insisting she find a job and cover her own expenses. The free ride ended. Amelia and I had one last indirect exchange. 2 months ago, her lawyer sent a letter demanding compensation, claiming she deserved a share of my business for her emotional and domestic contributions. It was a desperate grab for money. My lawyer's response was swift and sharp, including a bill for half the non-refundable wedding deposits, over $40,000, and a detailed list of expenses I'd covered for her, like car payments, credit card bills, and trips. It warned that if she pursued her claim, we'd countersue for her share of the wedding costs and submit the audio as evidence of her deceitful intentions. We never heard back. The most fulfilling part hasn't been the drama or the fallout, it's been rediscovering my life. I've poured myself into my business, securing 2 major contracts. I've reconnected with old friends Amelia disapproved of. I've spent weekends hiking and fishing, activities she called grubby and tacky. I'm dating again, casually. I met a veterinarian who's witty and kind. When I told her about my work, she said, "That's incredible. You build beauty from scratch." She didn't see dirt on my hands, she saw creation. The contrast was striking. Last weekend, I saw Amelia at a coffee shop where I was working on designs. She didn't notice me at first. She looked worn, her polished confidence replaced by a tired resignation. Her mother was speaking to her sternly, and Amelia just nodded, staring at the floor. Then our eyes met. Panic flashed across her face, then shame. She quickly left, leaving her mother behind. In that moment, I felt no anger or victory, just pity. She'd been so afraid of being embarrassed by me that she'd orchestrated her own downfall. Her worst fear was people thinking she'd settled for someone beneath her. Now she had nothing. No friends, no fiancé, no reputation. All because she couldn't value a man who loved her for who she was, not who she could shape him to be.